Everyone could stand and follow me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we do have two agenda adjustment items. So we are going to move 7.1 and 10.1 to after our public comments, so it'll come after number 3. So we're going to move down to number 2, the consideration of the minutes, to approve the minutes of the December 13th, 2023 Board of Directors meeting. So moved.
I'd like some motion to amend or to add board comments. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure you knew I wasn't seconding.
Okay. So we have a first and a second, so now we'll have some discussion.
Okay. So for board discussion on the minutes,
Is there something you want to change?
yes, I'd like to have Scott's comments from the last meeting included as an attachment of some sort because of the technology glitch that occurred during his comment.
So it's my understanding, though, his presentation that he handed out is on the website. But his comments wouldn't be put in the minutes verbatim.
I understand, but because of the technology glitch, I'd like to make it a matter of record.
So if Scott wants to hand his comments over, then we can add that to the agenda. We could put it in the packet.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is what I read verbatim.
Thank
So
you.
we'll just put that with your packet, is that right?
Put it with my packet.
On the agenda, on the
Oh, yeah,
minutes.
yeah, yes,
You see
I
what I'm saying?
understand, yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that people know it's an introduction to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
as long as it's public record.
Yep,
Yep.
all right.
Any other discussion?
We're going to make an adjustment. I wanted to change the letter F to the letter N on 5.4D for the very last sentence. I wasn't going to bring it up, but we're already in the adjustment. So it just says, the question was asked about the effects of sports should Litchfield leave the RSU. It should be the effects on sports should Litchfield leave. So we're already adjusting.
Okay. Thank you.
If you look at the consideration of the minutes from last time, there is no person there for moved or seconded.
We'll make sure to get that also added and changed. Anyone else? Okay. So with those changes and the addition of Scott's comments, the change of the of to on, and then to add the motions to those, ask for approval. All those in favor? All right, just pass. Thank you. So now at this time, I'm going to offer some public comment. I'll ask you to come up to the microphone, identify yourself and the town that you are coming from. We also ask that you not use any student or teacher names in your comments. Is there anyone that would like to come to the mic at this time? All right. So then we will move on to 7.1. The attorney for RSU4 will facilitate a board member 101 training. Oh, I thought you said to do it the other way.
Well, he's changing because we're printing.
Okay. Okay, so
I
then
didn't know that.
we'll move to 10.1, to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056D with the attorney Ton Trenholm, Regional School Unit United 4 Education Associates, MEA, NEA, Special Support Professionals Negotiations.
So moved.
All those in favor? All those not in favor? So we will go into executive session starting at 6:37.
Be back.
We'll be back.
Yeah, we
And
will
we
be
will
That's it?
Thanks for waiting. Phone call, you know.
Press it while you're in it. Sometimes you have to like shove the thing in the,
But
but
they
yeah,
say you
like this has the,
think that 250 is worth
Could be
saving
worth
$50,000. Exactly. That's how I always take it as, okay, well, one phone call.
All right, so we'll go ahead and continue on. There are no petitions and communications. Move down to 5, reports. We'll start with the superintendent report.
The only thing I will add, because I know we have a busy meeting still, is Oak Hill High School does have power now. I was getting a little nervous, but the people, Oak Hill High School did not have power today, so we were fortunate to go remote learning. We didn't have school, right? I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Excellent. Scott, you were. So just for update with the storm, Oak Hill High School did not have power today. They do now, which is great. We did have some flooding issues, which I shared with the board earlier. Libby Tozier, where it's located, a lot of water running down from the Carrie Ricker area towards Libby Tozier. But the custodians jumped right on it, cleaning it up. But those double doors in the back, it was coming up through there. And other little spots with custodians were drying that up. We had some here from our front door as well. The high school was addressing some, but not a lot, and everybody else seemed to hold up. But a lot of water for sure. So I just want to let you know, though, school, we're back on tomorrow.
Sorry, high school. All right, we will head down to administrative reports, and Amy and Jenny from the middle school will send this off.
All right. Good evening. So a few updates from Oak Hill Middle School. Feedback from our bar coach has been very positive. At our last visit, she said that Oak Hill Middle School is working hard on bar implementation and making great progress for the success of students and the improvement of the whole school. To support implementation, weekly I-time lessons are built into the schedule. These lessons build intentional relationships for both student to student and staff to student while promoting social emotional skills in students. During our staff meetings, as you can see pictured here, we incorporate I-time sessions where teachers participate in the lesson before delivering it to their students. Doing so provides teachers with the opportunity to familiarize themselves with the lesson content and strategies so that they're fully prepared to teach it to their students. So a few pictures of our staff meeting yesterday when teachers were oh, and we did. Diane Whalen joined us in this activity yesterday as well. So, all right, next slide. For instruction, our 6th grade and 5th grade science students. In 6th grade, science students have been learning about solids, liquids, and gases. They've been working hard on STEM projects, engineering lifts using syringes with a tube or a pulley system. The final component of this unit required students to create a Google slideshow to share along with their lift systems. The 6th graders proudly showcased their presentations and lift systems to visiting 5th, 7th, and 8th grade science students and staff. In 5th grade, students have been learning about matter and understand that all things are composed of matter. Science lessons often take place outdoors, allowing students to learn directly from their surroundings. There's a picture there of one of the Mrs. Clark's 5th grade science classes.
PBIS update. Oak Hill Middle School has been working on reinforcing their expectations. This was developed by the whole staff and fine-tuned by the PBIS committee. This is done in all areas of the school, from the classroom, hallways, and cafeteria to the playground. This helps to establish a common language across all 4 grade levels. The review of expectations is done on a regular basis, but especially after long breaks, to remind students how to be safe, responsible, respectful, and kind members of the middle school community. The holiday baskets were collected and shared with the baskets collected at the high school. The student council challenged all advisory classes to a winter-themed door decorating contest. While all doors were created and well-constructed, Mr. Redstone's advisory came in first place, which one is, it's pictured there. And today, I want to say we had our first remote day of the year. Participation was high. Students were online and engaged in classroom activities that extended and reinforced the learning acquired in their regular classes. It was nice to see the kids online engaged in lessons and even taking advantage of the classroom teachers' support areas at the end of the day. I visited a few, and some of the students were taking advantage of the one-on-one time with their teachers to get caught up. Very nice to see. We had good turnout.
Thank you.
so much.
Next will be Michaela from SPS.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I just want to first start off with big thank you to our students, staff, and our community with being so flexible. I mean, there's a lot that has been coming our way over this past month in December. Our parents have just been great, coming in, smiles on their faces, so supportive. Our students are just adapting to the changes and thriving. Our first remote day was so cute. I mean, you never know what to expect on Zoom in first and second grade land. So it was really cute hearing some of the stories that happened today. A lot of show and tell, and animals joined, siblings, and it's just a very warmful moment to have. And then our teachers have just been really great with their flexibility and always putting students first. So I just wanted to give a big thank you to all of my Sabattis primary staff. So I'm just going to highlight some of the fun things, learning-wise, and just some other activities that has been going on here at SPS. This is from Miss Doobie's room, where we have some world travelers that received their passports, flew around to various countries, and were able to gain insight to different traditions that students worldwide participated in. Don't worry, they returned in time for dismissal, a little jet lagged, but very happy. In this next slide, we have our authors from Sabattis Primary School who have published books. And they worked hard with Miss Michoud and Miss D'Alessandro to become real-life authors. Each student wrote a nonfiction book to share a topic they were interested in, complete with creative facts, detailed pictures to share with their peers and special guests. Food, drinks were included as well. I also just want to end with our fabulous second grade concert. It finally happened. I want to thank Ella, our music teacher, that was super resilient and making sure that students were prepped. We even, with our first cancellation of the concert, we had a community meeting where they were able to practice and get ready just for the concert and keep their excitement up, where it got moved a few times. And they provided a wonderful performance. The kids were so cute. And I just want to say a special thank you to our second grade team for volunteering their time to set up and making this production happen, and everyone that came out for a wonderful show. Any questions? Thank you.
Next up will be Dustin and Sherry from Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker. I said Sherry, didn't I? Cherie, sorry. I realized it once I said it.
Good evening. We will show a quick video that was created by our pre-K teacher, Jan LaValle, that shows our winter ornament night at Libby Tozier. This event was very well attended, as you will see. The event has become a cornerstone at Libby Tozier and has now become an annual tradition the night before the holidays. Students left with their very own ornaments from various creation stations that were all guided by our amazing staff. A huge thank you to our office secretary, Janice Plant, and the leadership team who organized the entire event. Let's see if we can play that. I tried it this afternoon and it worked, so we'll see what happens. Oh, there's no. There is great music to go with it. It's bells. Yeah.
You can sing to us, Jan.
Ding, ding. Yeah, I said that. It's okay. So we had snacks for the kiddos, lots of different ornament stations, as you can see. All of our teachers at Libby Tozier, we had volunteers that manned each station, so each kid had something to take away at the end of the night with them. And like I said before, this is something that the kids are really looking forward to, and one of our big events that is very well attended. Next up, Libby Tozier, our entire kindergarten grade level, visited countries around the world. Each child went room to room through kindergarten wing and explored together. I was taught about breakfast in various countries. We had Chinese lanterns, sand art from India. It was a great experience for all. This originally was planned before winter break. The kindergarten teachers came to us and asked if they could do it, put it together within a day. So we had it on Tuesday that we came back. Very impressive overall, and really well put together and thought out process. And the kids loved it, as you can see, with their passports and all their different activities that they did throughout the day. Finally, here, we have our 2024 Winter Kids Winter Games has officially started. We're just playing along at Libby Tozier this year, not part of the competitive games, but everyone has received a playbook that is filled with a daily challenge and lots of information. As you can see here, Mrs. Caceres' class and Jim yesterday received theirs from Mr. Stanley. Families can sign up for Winter Kids app and program that offers a lot of discounts and sorry about that, programs for kids and families. Each week during the physical education class with Mr. Stanley, students of Libby Tozier will be given their Winter Kids incentive. Mr. Stanley will also be incorporating some of the winter game activities into his classes. And be sure to check out the Winter Kids website at winterkids.org. All of this information can also be found in our monthly newsletter that I'll send out. So if parents want to join in, and we've also sent home information as well. This also was initiated by Mrs. LaValle, so she's been very busy lately, so thank you.
Hello, good evening. I'm going to be presenting for Carrie Ricker. I'm Cherie Poole, the assistant principal. This is a slide of Carrie Ricker, and these are Reading Buddies. Our Reading Buddy program continues to foster a sense of community and collaboration among students from different grades. Students are engaging in meaningful literary discussions and further enhancing their love for reading. This is a picture of a math learning lab that you are seeing. And the math learning lab, led by our dedicated math coach, Deb Witham, has become a hub for interactive and personalized learning. Mrs. Witham's expertise is driving improvements in math proficiency, empowering students with essential problem-solving skills and a deeper understanding of mathematical concepts. In this next slide, she is also in the cafeteria. Learning doesn't stop even when the kids are eating, and she's going around to each table, also teaching new concepts in a very leisurely way while the kids are eating. She's chit-chatting and showing new things that they're going to see around the building and on the walls. Very engaging. And this is just a fun slide of us sliding. With the arrival of winter, our students are enjoying the snow and engaging in healthy, active play during recess. Thank you for your continued support as we strive to create an educational experience that nurtures the academic, social, and emotional growth of every child at Carrie Ricker Elementary School. And if any of you want to go sliding with us, you're welcome to. We have plenty of slides, so come as soon as we have a little bit more snow, you can come and do that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Sue for the high school, and Marco is not here with us.
I'm going to take somebody up here who's an expert at the microphone. She does announcements almost every single day, right? Okay. I'll read the beginning and you get to read the rest. These are notes from Mr. Aliberti. Good evening, Happy New Year, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of the most recent happenings at Oak Hill High School. I would like to take this opportunity to highlight one of the most ambitious community outreach programs Oak Hill High School organizes each year prior to the holiday baskets.
Each year, a group of dedicated advisors work with district staff and high school students to provide for those in need. It starts with school counselors to identify families in our community who could use our support during the holiday season. The information is collected and then identified families are contacted. If a family elects to take a basket, the family information is collected and the collecting and shopping begin. At the high school, donation boxes are set out in each classroom so each Raider Connection class can bring in and drop off items. There is a list of items set out to the district, and staff members can sign up to donate specific items to the family members. Items are bought and organized by the family. There is also a trip to Gowell's where food items are packed and tied into cars, trucks, and vans.
Our distribution date this year was Wednesday, December 20th. Families drove up to the circle after, and boxes were packed with care. It is a very gratifying experience knowing that you are supporting your community. The reason I am taking most of the time this evening to highlight holiday baskets is because of the great impact it has on our community, and on that is led by two wonderful people, Katie Stubbs, English teacher of OHLA and advisor, and Angela Roy, business teacher and FBLA advisor. These two people work extremely hard to make this event happen on top of all of their responsibilities. I would like to thank them for their efforts. I have the notes for the PBIS. Update for PBIS at Oak Hill High School. I'd like to do a shout out to Paige Stevens and Forrest St. Laurent. They are our student representatives that work on this committee. They helped me a lot create a student survey sent out this week to obtain data from the students. Some of the topics included their opinions about student recognition and student behavior. Oak Hill staff were surveyed about student behavior and policies. We will be compiling the responses and sharing out to both of the groups. And that's it.
Thank you. We will now move up to our student rep report with Destiny and Lily.
Oh, we don't have a slideshow. We don't have a slideshow. That's okay. So, for academic decathlon, we have regionals being held next week where we will compete against 6 states for medals and ribbons, such as Massachusetts and Florida. The outcome of this won't determine our eligibility for states or nationals, but it'll be a great way to measure up competition and practice. We have the Merry Wives of Windsor, a Shakespearean comedy held. It will be held January 19th and 20th at 7 p.m., as well as 2 p.m. on the 21st. There have been a lot of setbacks due to school cancellations and weather, but our cast is determined to pull the show together and give our best efforts. Civil Rights is currently interviewing some of our alternative education to highlight their positive impacts in our community, such as their coffee cart on Fridays, which allows staff to purchase coffee and baked goods for their classrooms. They are preparing for robotics is preparing for their competition, which will happen on Sunday, January 21st at Yarmouth High School, and they will be having their Penny Wars fundraiser during Winter Carnival, which will be during the end of February to the beginning of March. This fundraiser has raised over $3,000 in recent years and is a fun addition to our Winter Carnival competition. For a National Honor Society, Did you know that the American Red Cross is experiencing an emergency blood shortage as the nation faces the lowest numbers of people giving blood in 20 years? The Oak Hill High School National Honor Society is partnering with Red Cross to host a blood drive on Wednesday, January 31st from 10 to 3 p.m. for students and the community, with the community being able to attend from 12 to 3 p.m. If you would like to sign up, you can go on redcrossblood.org and use the Find a Drive button search bar by using the Wales zip code. And you can also sign up with any NHS member, including me, if you have an interest. After the board meeting, I can hang around and do that after or answer questions. In the band and music department, we have student Katie Lynn Taylor being nominated for the National High School Arts Award. Sorry about that. Which seeks to recognize individuals who exemplify ideals of the arts that represent the core mission of education-based activities. Kaylee was selected by the MMEA to represent Maine, and there will be 8 section winners as well as 1 national winner. As for band, we have 2 students representing Oak Hill at the District 3 Music Festival, and it will be held on January 26th and 27th at Coney High School.
Okay. So for LRTC, is this working? Okay. For LRTC, Skills USA happened the past 2 weeks, and everyone worked very hard to prepare, and multiple Oak Hill students won and are moving on to represent LRTC at the state competition. FBLA raised $500 with Breakfast for Santa for Foundations for Love and are starting to prepare for their state conference. For sports, everyone has been working and playing very hard, and our student section this year is very great, and they're very supportive and loud no matter how the games turn out.
Thank you. We will move down to 5.6. Hannah is here with an update for the Community Cares Backpack Program.
Now you have the slide.
Good evening. I'm Hannah Dietrich. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm a Wales resident, but I am also a long life Sabatis resident. I graduated Oak Hill in 2009, and I started Community Cares Backpack Program in 2022. So if you want to, I don't have a thingy.
Your power, click your PowerPoint.
So we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. This is our mission statement that we make sure we put on websites, our social media, everything. We aim to end chronic hunger among school-age children in rural communities by providing them with nutritious food that is easy to prepare. And I'm lenient on nutritious because we don't have refrigeration. We just don't have the capacity for it right now. We just want to make sure that kids have access to food regarding no matter what their economic status is. So like I said, we provide bags to kids in the district, all 5 schools, with easy to prepare food. We distribute the bags on Fridays, but we pack the bags on Thursdays. So this is for when breakfast and lunch are not available to kids. We want to make sure that kids don't come to school on Monday hungry, because I know I can't learn if I'm hungry. I get pretty hangry. So we want to make sure these kids have access to food on weekends when they probably don't. And we do not ask for income verification from any family, because it's not my job to judge anybody, no matter what their position is in life, to make sure that their child has food. So this is the process, because I know I get a lot of questions about, like, well, how do you do it? What do you do? So Good Shepherd, we do get food from Good Shepherd. I have to place the order 1 week ahead of time, and then I go pick up the order at Good Shepherd. And that's like $500 worth of food at a time. We don't get Good Shepherd food for free. I think people don't realize that. It's not free. Sam's Club orders are picked up weekly as well. I put those orders in 1 to 2 days prior, after we take inventory of what's left. Katie Seaman picks it up every week. Bags are packed Thursday mornings, which may change to Thursday afternoons. I currently work part-time, but looking for a full-time job, so just the whole thing. But, so the bags are packed preemptively based on the numbers that we receive per school from Kathy Martin. Bags are delivered on schools Friday mornings because we don't want the bags to be left there on Thursday nights because we don't know who has access to those bags and who can change something. They can all get messed up. So this is all volunteer-based. I don't get paid to do this. I give myself $77 a month in gas just to pick up the orders from my house to Good Shepherd. So that's 4 times to Auburn to Wales. So, and then Katie also is getting paid now to pick up the orders at Sam's Club in Augusta. So this is all volunteer-based. We actually have homeschoolers that come in once a month now and help us pack bags. They're like 7 to 10-year-olds, so they're learning how to give back to their community, even if they're not part of the school district itself. So these are our current numbers. I hope yeah. All right, so this is from 22 to 23 to 23 to 24. The process changed, and that's why the numbers went up so much. If you see on the left, this was more based on, they went out mid-year. It started off slow, and then we increased numbers based on the forms that went out. But this year, if anybody has a child in the school district, they would have seen a form or received a form to apply for the backpack program. So parents were able to opt in their kids this year. We all know groceries are expensive, and we all know rising prices. So of course, there's going to be a lot more people that probably need it this year. And living in a rural community, social determinants of health definitely impact people's lives, and people don't see that a lot. Mental health and poverty, transportation issues, everything like that. That's another huge reason our numbers went up. Oh, so you can't see this, but I meant to print it. I've laid out every single thing that we purchase, where we purchase it from, the cost that we pay, how many we get per each, cost per item, and that was as of November of this past year. I did this to essentially give you an idea that sometimes it's cheaper to buy from Sam's Club than it is Good Shepherd. I know with Nutri-Grain bars, it's cheaper to get it at Sam's Club than it is Good Shepherd. Don't ask me why. I don't know. So average cost per child per week is $6.68. These are the 4 menus that we kind of laid out, and I'll pass this around. This is an example of what we give every week. We give out juice, milk, 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 dinners, or 1 big dinner, and then 2 snacks, 2 bags of chips, 2 granola bars, crackers or popcorn or something, and fruit snacks or protein, anything to just make sure that child has what they need for the weekend. At the end of the day, these kids just want Doritos and Takis, but I try not to give out the Takis. It was a whole thing last year, but want Takis. But we do try to give out as much as we can. So the average cost per child per week is $6.68, along the lines of we're feeding 111 kids this year, so it's roughly $3,000 a month, $3,000 a month. So we've brought in over $16,000 in over 1 year. So this is from when we started, September 22 to September of 23, and that was over $16,000, and that's literally just, that being the grant funding is limited, so all of the money that we raised was from everybody else, so everybody, the community. I want to thank Percy Gowell for doing a roundup campaign for us. Alyssa and Tony Fortin, they also did a huge fundraiser for us this summer. I have to thank Sharon too, because Sharon allows us to use the town office for free. But all that money is from the community and not just grants, which we're working on slowly applying for grants now. So I don't know if anybody's been as familiar with the Department of Education website, but this is kind of, if you don't know why it's important to fill out your free and reduced lunch form, this is why. If you see how many, this is from 2021, so we can see that with 158 kids at Libby Tozier, 58, 56, yeah,
58.
thank you. 50, what is it, free,
85.
thank you so much. I cannot see anything. So 85 kids were eligible for free lunch. So if we take, 58%, 51%, 42, 45, 45, and if you click the next slide, this is the income guidelines, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen that either. So if a household size has 4 and they're making $39,000 a year, they're eligible for free lunch. So take into consideration that information and then apply it to the families that live in this district and those percentages that we just saw. That's why we do what we do, because you don't know what's going on in somebody's life. A kid has to eat. Kid just has to eat. Doesn't matter about anybody else, just that one child needs to eat. Yeah, so we just have the special thank you to the staff and faculty, everybody, principals, teachers, administrative assistants, Katie, Kathy. Kathy takes in all of the forms that come in. I do not know any child's name. That's a privacy reason. I don't know any names. I just get the numbers. And then we also keep up to date with allergies. Kathy does that for us as well. So every week we count the numbers. If somebody new's enrolled, numbers go up. But without any of these people, I don't know I don't know if we'd even have a program. So, you can click the next slide. Future plans, we're actually working with Miss Roy, speaking of Angela Roy, starting a food pantry at Oak Hill High School. I'm just trying to secure the funding for that and fill out the MOUs with Good Shepherd Food Bank. We also would like to do a summer program, if possible, outside of the school, more partnering with local food pantries and potentially delivering. We also would like to expand into other districts, other rural communities that have lack of resources. And yeah, you click that. And you can literally help any way possible. The biggest thing is donations. It doesn't have to be money. We don't care. It's snacks. That's the biggest one, is snacks. Most of our money goes towards Sam's Club orders. It's cheaper than BJ's, I will say that, but it's the cost. It's $3,000 a month, and I am pursuing my MBA this fall in public and nonprofit administration in order to better be suited for the position that I'm in for this program and expand it into other communities like ours, and hopefully other communities will come together to feed their kids. Thank you. Any questions?
How do we contact you for making
Can you go back a slide? So I just updated our website. Can you click on it?
Is that it?
Yeah. I had to make it more Google friendly. It was too long, and it's not on Google right now, so I have to adjust it. Okay.
It's on our website too.
And there's actually a box that'll come up 15 times to make sure that you do it. So it's a donate box, and then you can actually set up recurring payments to come out of your account. So like $10 a month will automatically go through. We set it up through Donor Box online. So it's pretty straightforward. My mom does it, so it's not that hard.
Do you keep all the food items at the town office? Or
Yep, it's in like the old voting closet, the elections closet.
So do you have capacity to hold massive amounts of stuff?
Yes. Yeah, it's a pretty big closet. I've added a bunch of shelving, yes.
So if I donated, if I called you and wanted to donate 5 pallets of snacks, could you take that?
Probably could, because we have yeah, we'll get the selectmen out, it's fine. No, we have the other room that we could use too, so yeah. That'd be huge. I know, Becky D'Alessandro's husband, Ryan, a lot of you know him, he's donated a lot through, because he works for Lay's Chips. He's donated a lot of boxes to us through them as well, so, yeah. Oh, yes, the bags. So we're trying to, they really stand out, so we're trying to end that, but Share Center actually donates these bags to us. We use Sabatis's, whatever, the account at the Share Center, they've allowed us to. And they've donated 600 of those to us. We tried to do backpacks last year, and it was just, we had to wash them when they came back. It was just a mess, and then the magnets were sticking to the washers, and it was just awful. So we switched to reusable bags. So if anybody has reusable bags as well, that's another thing we do take. So that's our website. If you scroll down a little bit. So, yeah, if you click support or click the donate, oh, keep going, it's pretty. If you click that donate now button right there, you'll get a pop-up box where you can set up one time, monthly, annually. But yeah, that's it.
You can also drop envelopes with money in their little box at the credit union.
What is it? Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, so sorry. Yeah, we have a drop-off location at the Walestown office and the Sabatis Credit Union. And Sabatis Credit Union's been a huge, Rachel over there has been fantastic, so, yeah.
Is your membership paid for through the grant?
What?
You have to pay for a membership to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So does your
Yeah, we pay for it with the program, with the money through that. No, I don't.
I was just gonna say we donate that if that was something.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Now we get into some business. 6.1, to approve the first reading of the following policy, JICH, drug and alcohol user by students.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Scott?
I believe we should add legal reference, JICH.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? With the amendment,
Okay.
yes, sorry.
Well, it'll come back for a second.
It'll come back for your second reading, so.
So you guys will look at it, see if it's appropriate.
All those not in favor? I didn't see everybody's hands, I'm sorry. 6.2, to approve the second reading of the following policies, JHB truancy.
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? JKAA-R, procedures on physical restraint and seclusion.
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those not in favor? All right, we will move now down into new business. We will do 7.1 with our attorney for RSU4 to facilitate a board member 101 training. Are you ready, Tom?
You guys ready?
Yes. Let's do it.
Rock and roll, right? Very, very exciting.
Destiny and Lily, you may go if you don't have to sit for this.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to.
This is actually kind of cool.
You may go.
Don't have a PowerPoint.
You may go.
Thank you.
Have a point, but it's not a PowerPoint.
Want me to get
Or you
mic'd
go
up?
towards it.
Does that do anything? No. Am I projecting something? No, thank you. Yeah, right. Knowledge. So,
No.
49 pages in front of you. Okay, it's a lot of stuff. The vast majority of what you have for those materials are your current policies, right? So, the point I have, the reason I'm here, is just to kind of remind you, whether you're a current, whether you're a new board member or you're a long-term board member, that you have your own set of guidelines and rules for how you function as a board, both collectively and individually, right? And so these materials are here to kind of help you answer some questions, right? So the first question that I have for you is, where do you get your authority? You're a school board. Where do you get your authority? What gives you the power you have? Yeah, so statute. Anything else? Guesses? I'm not a good teacher or educator because all of the answers are in the materials I just gave you, and I'm encouraging you to cheat. Okay, I don't think that would look good on an evaluation. That would be an ineffective teacher. But right on the page there, right? So what is a school board, right? And I'm just doing a quick highlight here. I don't want to keep you guys here all night, but again, I'm fine with conversation. If you have questions, fire them at me. We can play stump the chump. You know, I'm here to help you guys make sure you understand how to be the best school board you can be. But it comes from the Constitution, right? The Constitution tells the legislature that we have to have public schools in the state of Maine, okay? And the legislature created you as a school board. And I remember watching Voltron on Channel 38, Channel 9, cable, whatever, in Winthrop, Maine, when I was trying to see whether or not there was going to be a school or not. And Voltron is strongest when? When is Voltron strongest? Right. Then Voltron becomes the greatest in the universe, galaxy, whatever it is, okay? You have your power when you're all together. Individually, you don't have the power of the school board, right? That's like the Voltron rule, okay? You are not a representative body like the state legislature, okay? You are not on the school board to carry out what is or is perceived as the will of the people who elected you, right? Again, you're a creature of state statute, which was written because the Constitution said we're going to have public schools in Maine, okay? So on that first page, you can look at Section 1001, which Mr. English said is in Title 20A of the statutes. So that's a quick highlight, okay, of like orienting where we are. What are your roles? Your primary role is not to operate the schools, but to make sure they're well operated, right? That's, again, the function of a school board. You're policymakers, you're not managers. You might be a great manager, right? But when you get on the school board, like you just voted on those policies, that's your number one objective, right? So you have other roles, right? You're an employer, okay? The number one thing I want to flag for you as an employer is you have statutes that require you to maintain confidentiality about the greatest portion of your population are, you know, the people you have are staff and students, right? Those are the people you have. Staff members have confidentiality rights, okay? That's as an employer. Also, students have confidentiality rights. We have to make sure we're taking care of those. You also function as the judicial body, okay? That comes up largely in the terms of maybe having to dismiss staff members, right? There are statutes that say this is the process if certain employees are going to be dismissed, okay? And expelling students. Okay, that's kind of your two major functions as a judicial body, right? The number one thing you need to remember is you have to be an unbiased decision maker, Okay, so it's a little bit different. Like, you want to be active in your community, you want to be involved, you want to know what's going on. But the more you know, right, the more someone whose life you've like affected by deciding that they might not work in RSU4 anymore or go to school in RSU4 anymore, they might say, you made up your mind before you actually voted, right, at that meeting. So that's just a big reminder. I'm telling you things that are not like about RSU4. I'm just telling you, like, these are the observations I've made, right, in my job about how people who are all well-intentioned get on a school board, and then the next thing you know, they're like, oh, shoot, I didn't know that was a consequence. And I'm not telling you how to live your life or do whatever you want. You keep doing that. I'm just giving you a heads up of like potential consequences, right, when those things happen. So we already talked about being a policymaker. I'm just kind of like, again, moving through the materials pretty quickly, right? So individual board members, right, in your responsibilities. There's a whole list there. And again, these initial pages, I'm on page 5 now. This is a summary, right? And then I'm going to show you that it's not just me talking. It's not just a lawyer or Drummond Woodsum or whatever. Like, you have decided this. The school board in RSU4 has already decided these things, okay? So we're going to get into the individual stuff in a minute. We'll look at your exact policies. But again, acting as a collective body, right? At the bottom there, Roman numeral 5, right? You have to have a quorum, okay? And you're only authorized to act as an individual on behalf of the school board if the school board has voted to authorize you to do that, right? That's something that, again, might catch people by surprise sometimes. So that's the top of page 6 there. Okay. So some potential problem areas, right? Again, the theme is kind of like getting used to your skin, right, as a board member. So you're used to being outspoken in the community, you're used to being involved, but you need to remember that when you're speaking as an individual, right, you need to remember, am I making it clear to everyone that I'm speaking as an individual and not necessarily on behalf of the board? That extends to social media, right? When the Constitution was written, there was no Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it is. When those statutes were written, we didn't have these things. These are new things that we have to deal with. Email, right? We need to make sure we are very cautious about using email, right? And we're going to get into those details in a minute. Being really involved by like going to employees, talking to employees. You have one employee as a school board, and everything has to route through the superintendent. That is your mouthpiece. She is your ears, eyes, right, voice. Again, you know people, their neighbors, their friends, their family, they're your children, right, your relatives. But as a school board, you got to follow that process. Being critical. Look, and again, these are not, I'm not like here because of RSU4. I'm here because like these are the things you might read about in the newspaper sometimes or whatever. These are just the situations that come up. Everyone's well-intentioned. You're trying to do the right thing. But if you're being critical of employees, does it give the impression that you don't have, the back or the support? And we're going to talk about what your policies and procedures require. So the superintendent also only has the power that they have by state statute. That's 1055. Right, you can look that up. And then the last thing I'll say in kind of in this overview is freedom of access, right? Public records. So I can't tell you how many times like I've worked with boards that folks have been very surprised that things that they sent on this little thing that they own, that is their personal phone number, right, or their personal email account, had to be shared as public records, right? People have been very surprised by that. And so again, my job here is to give you a heads up. If you are communicating about anything that's related to the transaction of RSU4 stuff, it is potentially a public record, right? So you just want to think about that. Even if it's on your personal device, even if it's your personal account, even if it's not your school email, your RSU email account. Okay? So keep that in mind. That's a big piece. So moving into your policies, okay? Page 8 here. And again, I'm just going to kind of run through these and highlight them. If anyone has a question, just, I'm not a train that like needs to get to the station or like, you just throw your hand up, ask me a question, blurt it out, whatever. Does anyone have any questions so far? So far, so good. Okay. So just again, if you've looked at your policy book, they're all online, right? We start with AD. This is your philosophy and mission. Okay. So again, it's just a reminder that you're advocates for children. That's what it starts out as. You're advocates for children, right? And you consider the proper and adequate support of schools to be a civic responsibility shared by all. So it's the support of the schools, right? So you might disagree with how they're run, but you're on the board and your job is to support them. That's what your policy requires, right? And if you go through and you look, it says each student, right? And it talks about all children, right? All students. You go through there. So again, that's, one of the things you need to remember. It's not just people you know or whatever, right? It's not just people in your town, your hometown. It's all students throughout the RSU, right? Because that's the structure you signed up for. And again, to close it out at the bottom of this policy, that it's your responsibility to formulate policies and acquire adequate funding, okay? Because you will, and it says, this is the last paragraph on the bottom of page 9, you will always consider the welfare of students as the single most important factor in making decisions relative to educational policy. Okay, so those are your marching orders, right? The next one, your goals and objectives. Again, you have the responsibility to set goals, right? And you're supposed to ensure that you have resources directed towards meeting the educational needs of each student, right? No matter which town they live in. The next one, BB, your legal status. Just in case, this is what we just talked about, right? And this gets into details, but this is kind of the Voltron rule that I was just talking about. BBA, page 13, your powers and responsibilities. Again, you're the policymaker, right? Your superintendent and other administrators, that's their job to make sure that your policies are carried out, right? The way you've designed them. So your powers and duties, A there, enact policy, right? Go down to F, developing the budget, okay? And then the administration does procedures. Like you just did, what did you just do here? Physical restraint, you had a policy, and then JKAA-R, those are procedures, right? Okay, that's how that works. Zooming along, BBAA, authority and responsibilities. I just mentioned this, right? Again, the Voltron rule, it's kind of a theme here, right? It's in like multiple policies, so maybe it's kind of a big deal, right? You only have authority when acting as a board legally in session, right? So how does this come up? Again, these are not like people doing bad stuff. These are people who are like, believe they're doing the right thing, right? So you're asking, and again, these are just things I've seen, okay? Asking the administration to get you information that wasn't requested by the chair, right? You as an individual board member, like, I need this info, I need this info. That's not the way it works, right? Again, like, as an individual, you're a person who makes requests that might be subject to Freedom of Access Act, FOA, right? If you ask the chair to request information and the chair requests information, then that's kind of the way it works. If the full board says we need this information to like make this decision, then that's the way it works. If you're making public statements, right, that's not on behalf of the full board unless the full board voted to say, Tom's going to speak on our behalf on this matter, right? We'll talk about this in a minute more specifically, but going into building. Okay, that's another, you're like, I'm on the board now, I think it's my job to know what's going on. I'm very proactive as a person, so I'm going into the buildings to know what's going on. That's not the role of a board member, okay? Going to BCA, the next, Board of Directors Member Code of Ethics, right? This is the big one. If you're going to remember anything else, this is the one. How does this come up? It comes up if people, it doesn't come up when someone's like, Tom's terrible or something, right? It's just nitpicking Tom or something, right? Like essentially, but you're criticizing people and you're doing it in public. There are ways, if you have concerns about employees, there are ways to get those concerns addressed. There are channels, there are procedures. If people call you or they see you at the grocery store, right? You say to them, hey, there's a policy or a procedure. There's a person you should talk to. There's a channel to address your concern. Let me help you get to that channel, right? You are not the hero as an individual board member. Okay, that's not necessarily your role, right? Obviously, like promoting personal interests, that's not okay. But again, that sometimes happens because you're like, well, I think this club is really important, and now like that's all I'm doing. I'm that one issue person. I'm on the board. I got to get this club more money or something like that. You just be cautious about that, okay? So this is all pretty straightforward. You can go through it, but I'll just highlight some of these for you. A, I believe public education is the best means to promote the welfare of our people and to preserve our democratic way of life. That's a pretty heady statement, okay? It's a pretty heady statement. That's what you signed up for. This is your policy, right? This is your code of conduct as a board member, right? I will always think of children first, B, right? C, no disparaging remarks. Okay, again, I'm just highlighting. D, we've already talked about this individual, the Voltron rule. E, you're not here to operate the schools, but to see they're well operated. Again, F, it's all children in the community, right? G, you're listening to all citizens, but again, you refer complaints to the proper authorities. That's what I just talked about with the channeling. H, you're supporting a decision made by a majority. Even if it's not you're opposed to it, even if you're the no vote, right? The majority of the board, that's their vote. This is your code of conduct, okay? Again, not criticizing employees publicly, that's an I. You can go through all the rest of these. I mean, they're pretty straightforward, but this is the one to really pay attention to. So I ask these questions, right, when we talk about these, this code of conduct, right? Do you want to be a witness? Again, if you're doing things as an individual, you might think, I'm just doing this as an individual. This is just me, Tom. But other people might not see it that way, right? And other people might bring a lawsuit against the school board, right? And the school board has insurance. And the insurer will get the school board an attorney, right? And we'll pay for that to defend that lawsuit. And that attorney might look at that lawsuit and say, that individual board member wasn't speaking on behalf of the entire board. So we're not going to defend that individual board member. They're on their own, right? So do you want to be a witness? Do you want to be a defendant? Do you want to pay out of pocket, right? And then again, when you're getting really involved in things, and if you're a member of the board that's voting to end somebody's employment in RSU4 or end their education in RSU4, and you think that's really important, do you want your vote to count, right? Because if you're super involved or hyper involved in individual situations like that, and then it comes to you as a board to vote, you might be disqualified. Or even if you do vote, then that person might appeal the board's decision saying that decision was biased. Because we have all of these Facebook posts by this person saying that this teacher shouldn't be here or this student shouldn't be here or something like that. Okay? Those are the things you really want to think long and hard about. The next one, BCB, conflict of interest. I'm just raising this real quickly because some people are unsure about what a conflict of interest is. I just want you to know that there's a definition here, and it's really about financial involvement. Okay? And you can, if you essentially have a conflict of interest, you can avoid having the board vote be voidable by just saying, hey, I might have a financial interest in this vote, and I'm going to abstain. That's pretty, but again, some people get confused about what a conflict of interest really is under the statute. You have BDB, those are your officers, right? Essentially just tells you about the chair's role in your meetings and setting the agenda. BDD, the next one, 24. So this is your relationship with your superintendent, right? Again, it reiterates that policymaking is your most important responsibility and that the management of the schools is a function of the superintendent. So again, if you're meeting with staff and the superintendent doesn't know, I mean, the one rule that you need is to have no surprises. Okay, that's the one rule. If you think that something should be done, you need to give the superintendent a heads up and let the superintendent do their job. You can see that down in E about referring complaints to the channels. BE, page 26. This is about your meetings. And the one thing I really wanted to flag, the two things I really wanted to flag here, which are kind of the same, two sides of the same coin. One is that it's really important. I don't know if anyone saw on the news, there was a town in central Maine that there was a lot of news coverage about them having allegedly secret meetings, right? Because at least the majority were getting together in a certain place often enough talking about specific stuff for that town. That's not okay, right? But again, sometimes it happens inadvertently, but you definitely don't want it to happen in that way. If you have executive session, we just did an executive session, you know that only the matter stated in the motion can be discussed in executive session, and you can't take final action in executive session. So if you're new to that, that's maybe something you weren't aware of. BEA. So this is electronic mail, email. Again, where people become snagged in this, unawares, right? No ill intent, but I don't know what your emailing practice is here. But if you're sending out emails and there's multiple board members on an email and you start replying all because email is very convenient, it's a lot easier than picking up the phone and calling 7 people, right? Then all of a sudden you start to become accustomed to that. And you start to be like, oh, this is okay. And now we're just chatting about when will we meet, when will we change the meeting, and it just becomes so much like, becomes ingrained. And that can be problematic because if you do anything that looks like a deliberation or discussion on the group email chain, you can be accused of having secret meetings. Okay, so the best rule is to be able to say, no, I don't ever do reply all. We don't ever do group emails. We don't talk about anything on email. It's a one-way communication, right? It's a one-way street. It's not a two-way street. Because those can be public records, right? BEB, page 29. So use of social media. So there's a case where a politician had a private social media account, right? Before they became a politician, they had a private social media account. They used that once they were elected to office. Kind of a recognizable office, pretty recognizable office, very recognizable politician, and they didn't like what people were saying or commenting on their social media account, so they blocked them, and those people sued that politician, right? Because they said you're in public office now. This is the way, Twitter is the way you're communicating with the world in your role as an elected official. You can't say certain people can participate in that communication and other people can't, especially based on whether or not they agree with what you're saying. So I'm flagging that case for you because you might have personal social media and then you might kind of use that and you might say you're a board member or whatever. And I just want to flag that again, that's you as an individual if things become contentious about whether or not people can access that social media account, right? So it's just fraught with potential complications, right? Any questions about that? All right. And again, you guys go out there and do whatever you want. I'm just telling you, these are potential issues that have arisen for people. BEC executive session, right? You have to have a 3/5 vote. We just talked about that, and yeah.
Board members not following policy. Board member, you'd be social media and they're not following.
I think that's typically up to your chair, and it's about having a conversation, and usually just reminding people reviewing the rules, making sure people are clear, making sure they understand, and there's just an expectation that these are the rules and people know them and people will follow them.
But if you've already warned them and it continues, what happens then?
I don't know. Every situation is different. I mean, you can have executive sessions to talk to each other, right? I mean, typically your evaluation of the board as a whole is a public matter, right? So like, how is the board functioning? That's typically a public matter. It's discussed in public. If you have concerns about particular board members, that is usually addressed in executive session, just like you would with an employee. Okay. So next one, the agenda, page 33. And again, you might get a phone call or walk in, see somebody in the parking lot and they say, hey, are you aware, like, this is what's happening, the bus is always late or something. And so you're like, oh, I'm at the board meeting. These are the people that need to know about that. Let me bring that up, right? So raising unscheduled items on the agenda, you may think that that's like, I need to do that. That's efficient. This thing's important. I need to bring it to people's attention. But the agenda is not necessarily for your benefit. It's for their benefit, right? So people decide whether or not they want to come to the board meeting because you've posted and published the agenda. And so they're like, I want to come in. I want to have public comment on that agenda item. So if we spring things that aren't put on the agenda, right, then that's not really an effective way to run a meeting, right, or to be a board. You got to give people a heads up about what you're going to talk about, okay? Obviously, you have an ability in this policy to make changes to the agenda. There's a process for that. You just follow it, and sometimes that needs to happen, right? But not necessarily a habit, especially if there's no notice to the superintendent or chair, because remember, they're the ones who set the agenda. They can, consider other people's input, but that's their job. So help them do their job by giving them a heads up, right? BEDD, rules of order. Look, this is again about the meetings. No surprises, right? You have an agenda, you stick to the agenda. I think you should keep it simple, okay? I've been in board meetings that have gone way later than 8:18, okay? Because people get so lost in like, what amendment are we on for this motion? Is this a primary or secondary or whatever? It's like, I encourage people to keep it simple. You have a motion, you discuss it, and you vote. Okay, avoid amendments. If you want to have something different, you want to make a change, vote it down, talk about that in the discussion that you're going to vote it down, and this is why, vote it, see if it voted down. If it's voted down, make another motion. Okay, don't overcomplicate it just because you're like, oh, well, Robert's rules, whatever. I want to point out in your policy here, rules of order, you only go to Robert's rules if it's not provided in a law, the regulations of the DOE, or your own policy. Most of your procedural mechanisms are in your own policy. So don't get too bogged down in Robert's rules. I also encourage people to repeat themselves. Okay, I have a rule, repetition avoids confusion, right? Say the motion, repeat the motion, right? Make sure people know what they're voting on. Okay, that's just my words of encouragement. Public participation, BEDH, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but you can see in paragraph G, right? And I think your chair already mentioned this, but you're not supposed to, these are your rules, right? You're not supposed to talk about specific individuals, whether you name them or they can be recognized because there's only one person that does that thing or something, right? If you have issues during public comment, again, I have the 3 R's: redirect, remind, and then if you have to, you remove, right? People aren't allowed to disrupt, right? People aren't allowed to make personal attacks. People aren't allowed to defame or violate people's privacy. No vulgar or obscene language, no threats or abuse. And the last thing I would say on public comment is remember that the kids are watching, right? The chair decides what's appropriate. So you need to remember that the kids are watching. BEDI, relations with the media. Again, we kind of hit that point, but the chair is your public spokesperson. And one of the things I'll say is kind of moving towards the end here, BG, you have a policy on policies. I'm reading you, I'm hitting notes from the policies that you have. If you want to change them, then change them. But as of right now, these are your policies, right? So another one you have, BHC, communications with staff, right? This talks about how you all, right, whether you're a board member, administrator, teacher, any support staff person, you have a common and basic responsibility, which is the welfare of the students in the schools. And that's what your policy says should guide all of your considerations and decisions, right? Your relationship with the superintendent is one of teamwork and cooperation. That's in the next part, right? Same thing with the principals, okay? And in terms of communicating with staff who, again, have concerns or complaints, most of them are covered by a collective bargaining agreement. There's a grievance process, and that ends up in front of you at the last step if it's not resolved at a lower level. That's the channel. That's one of the channels I'm talking about, right? Freedom of access training, BIC, we kind of talked about that. This one that I think sometimes surprises people, KI, visitors to schools. If you look at E, right, individual school board members shall follow the same procedures as other visitors. Okay? And then the last thing, I'm not going to go through this, but I left you with this little two-pager that one of my colleagues wrote, 2011 now, I guess. 10 ways that superintendents and school boards can undermine each other. Again, inadvertently, right? And you can go down through the list, you can look at it. I'm not going to go over it right now. I am done talking unless you have questions.
Anyone? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
All right, we will move down to 7.2 to discuss and approve a new club, the outing club.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there somebody here that's going to hear?
You had it in your booklet, so it's the teachers at the high school have talked about this, they want to do it, and so you're going through the proper procedure in their collective bargaining, which is you approve the new club, and then Jill will look at how that's going to be
So, a couple of things. A couple of things. So the compensation, I believe, according to a collective bargaining agreement, is determined by a stipends committee, which is primarily, are the ones who have set the stipends levels. It's not a board decision per se, because we found all kinds of stipends had been added and changed without board approval, and they stayed that way during our collective bargaining because the bargaining committee or the stipends committee formulated it and added those. So we had those during negotiations. We had to work on trying to maybe remove some through the negotiation process. Second, so we don't know what this is going to cost us for the stipends.
In your collective agreement, the board is the one who does it and negotiates the compensation. It is not the committee. So that's what we went over that to clarify that first it's going to be you approve it, and then it's got to be negotiated as to compensation. And then the committee when they're reviewing the stipends, and we're under discussion of that. We've been working with the association around that committee, so they're aware of that discussion. But for this purpose tonight, you're approving the activity, and then the compensation will be negotiated.
So my other question, I think, deals into it. I looked down at the list of things that they would like to do. I think almost all of them, with maybe an exception of backpacking, But even that is going to be expensive because of the equipment that's required. And we're going to ask the students to buy snowshoes or backpacks and boots they can go. We're going to supply those?
No, he's writing grants for that. Yeah.
So in the
He's
camping.
well aware
and
of that.
Camping, so, I mean, there's a lot of money that's going to be required. You could have some grants, or is it going to be contingent that if we don't get grant funding, they can't do it?
He's going to do what he has available for equipment. And then they're working right now, he's working on submitting a grant for outdoor learning. He does a lot in his program right now. Kids are out with their bicycles, sledding. I mean, he takes kids fishing. He's, I believe, a Maine guide. So he does a lot. So
He grew up in a family where his father was a Maine guy. That's what his spiel says.
Right, but he also, and he's very committed to the outdoors. So he knew he had to follow proper procedures to get the stipend approved and so forth. So that's what we're looking for. Stage one is approving the stipend to.
Stage one is approving the club.
The club, yes.
Then it will be,
And then
it'll come back.
negotiated for the stipend.
Yes. Scott?
I mean, can the teacher volunteer and do it? We discussed that. But this is part of the getting it into the collective bargaining.
And then it's paid for. So once
The
we
person's doing a
establish
lot
the
of work.
club, it goes onto the stipend spreadsheet. A lot of money there.
They're putting their time beyond what they do to benefit students.
Laura?
Do we know what grade level this club would be for?
High school.
High school. Okay. And is there any opportunity for any of these things to maybe go through like an adult ed enrichment versus a club, or?
This is what he's going to do after school with students.
Sorry, one more thing. Is there, I assume there's been kind of some discussion on maybe student participation. Is there an idea of how many students are looking to join this club?
He didn't write.
He didn't write that on his
No.
presentation.
I'm sorry he's not here because he knew it was coming tonight. So apologize that he's not here. He might not have put two and two together yet. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I think he has students that are very interested in outdoor clubs. How many that is? I mean, he's very sensitive to safety and so forth, so he's going to obviously do it in the safest way with the number of students that he can manage. They've talked about having an additional person. There were two of them interested in it. The second one, I'm not sure is going to still do it, but Tim is definitely committed to it.
Yeah, I just wonder, I think it's great to, lots of kids are in sports or bands or things, and so any additional thing that kind of builds relationships and things. I wonder, it seems like maybe a lot of Girl Scout and Boy Scout activities, so I wonder if that's maybe a better avenue, or if that's a restrictive avenue because of transportation or things, so like after school could be an opportunity for kids to still have that. But.
With Tim not being here, I'm not sure if you have the answer, but why is there a $35 fee to join the team, and how are we going to allow students who can't afford that to participate if this is for all students regardless of financial need?
That's a really good question, Nicole, and my guess is because other clubs have fees, which will be a discussion at budget time, the whole fee to play or participate. So he isn't here, so I'm not sure why he put the $35. It's for him to join. It's for him to join the, okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't reference it. But
So is that something on the board, or we need to fund? I know it's only $35, but still it's $35 more. So we're going to fund that for RSU4 to join the network?
Right. He's really committed to doing grants. He's always reaching out, can I apply for this grant? Can I do this grant? So that he understands the budget constraints and so forth. So I know it would, knowing him, he's not asking for money from the board. He's asking for the club to be approved.
I think for me personally, with the outing clubs, having dealt with people that are involved, is that not everybody is athletically inclined, but still want to go outside and be, outside. I find it's a great avenue for that, and it introduces people to a lot of different outdoor sports that they can't. Because after about 5 years, if this guy is as resourceful as he sounds, he'll probably acquire gear. You can acquire gear so many different ways, and such cheap and easy. Once you know what you're looking for, he'll be able to, kids could go rock climbing and stuff, and he could easily have the gear and introduce them to sports that may change their life,
So who wants to speak on behalf of Joanne?
I'll be short, literally. I'd like to share a story that happened. I don't want to say it happened, but a conversation that I had with a student. I'll try and get through this. This student, his family has a lot of hardships medically with illness. So this student needs to be home quite a bit. This student said to me once, I really wish I could go outside more. And I said, why? He says, well, my family aren't outdoor people. And I see the kids here outside, they snowshoeing and cross-country skiing and going fishing. He says, I would really like to do that stuff, but my family can't physically do it with me. And he said, those kids are so cool, I would like to be a part of their group. I just thought I'd share that with you. Just like what we were saying, it reaches kids that don't even have the opportunity for many, many reasons. So I've worked with Tim many years at another district. He's amazing. And I will tell you that all his certifications that he gets is so he can work with kids. He spends a lot of weekend time getting certified, his own time, because he knows that he needs these to do the activities with the kids. And I see it firsthand. The kids love it when they're outside.
Thank you. Christy?
And I think giving kids an opportunity to do something after school in a way that, like Doug said, is teaching them skills that will extend their lifespan. So with sports, sometimes it's over after high school or college. With these types of skills, you can do it your entire life. And I think it's a protective factor that we can put into our district with really minimal investment at this point. So I'm in favor.
All right, so just to reiterate, this is just a motion we just discussed, voting in the club itself. This is not financially tied to us at this point yet. This is just voting for them to create the outing club. Okay? So all those in favor of creating the outing club? We already had it. Christy and then Diane. So all those in favor?
Christy's hand's up, so I don't know if you said it.
And all those not in favor? And abstaining? Thank you. All right, we will move down to committee reports. First, we'll hear from the Consolidation Subcommittee for Finance and Facilities. Is that Doug?
Me. All right. We had, I'm just paraphrasing. I have to learn how to do the PDF thing where I can edit it. So I got to work on that. And so being the
They're playing
chair.
a good tag team. We have the chair and the minute taker.
Yeah, the minute taker. Hers. There was a lot that kind of went on. We got to meet everybody. Everybody was was present. It seemed like a really good group. We kind of went right into business pretty quick, I thought, as far as that went. The specifics that we covered. So I have a separate folder just for. What do we cover today? We kind of just introduced the group to the options that were kind of on the board between closing Sabatis Primary or Libby Tozier or both. The general strategy is that between talking with the group, we kind of decided to just look into one school, and we're going to go with Sabatis Primary first, not for any real particular reason other than somebody just kind of suggested it and we rolled with it. So we'll do that next week. That will be kind of brought up. Prior to next week, we're hoping we have next meeting, which is in a month. Prior to that meeting, we are going to have a field trip to Sabatis Primary, hopefully with all the members of the subcommittee so that they can see it and discuss any concerns and that kind of stuff. All of them kind of had homework to go through and read the packet that was handed out that broke down a rough comparison between the two schools and the pros and cons of each. Let's see, we did that. I think that, we're going to do a Google Classroom or some format like that so that we can all communicate. Since we only meet 4 times and we have a month between meetings, we're going to try to have a Google Classroom for questions or concerns that want to be brought up prior to the next meeting that we have. And I had on my notes, we're just going to come up with a survey for dates, which I think maybe we could share by next, I don't know when that's. Yeah. And I think that covers most of it, right?
Will the materials be made public for all to know?
All this is, their agenda with materials is on the website.
Thank you. Needed everyone to understand. Policy and Personnel Committee.
Hi, everybody. We were really busy today. It's our goal to try to get as many policies before budget season because we know what's going to happen. So be prepared. You have 10 policies coming to you for first reading for the next meeting. It's a great thing that we have a month in between because these are hefty. So the themes, I'm not going to go through each one of them. They fall into these 3 themes: board agenda, teaching, and attendance. So those will be coming to you soon. Ideally. Yeah, like I'm talking like hefty. So be ready. Happy to send them along. Policies that need to be looked at because some of them we never had, and some of them haven't been looked at since like 2007 or 8. So coming your way.
Thank you, Chrissy. We will move down to number 9, board member comments. Anyone?
I just wanted to congratulate the 8th grade team on their fundraising efforts. Their trip to Boston, they raised $10,000 out of their goal of $13,000 to $18,000. So they also have a dance this coming Friday, and taking some donations for that as well. And yeah.
I actually kind of appreciated the board 101. I don't know, to throw that out there. Sometimes it's nice to have stuff, I don't know, gone over. And everybody's doing a great job.
So there are some future meetings that are added to here, so I'm going to give myself a comment here. We're looking into coming into budget season. Okay? The budget is set by the board, not by the superintendent. She goes by our recommendations. So what I'm asking from the board is for you to start thinking about what direction you'd like to send her in. We will have a meeting for this. We will do that. But you have materials from last year that you can go through and start kind of thinking about the things that you're wanting to do, so that when we do come to this meeting, we're not sitting here not talking. She can't do her job if we don't give her how to do the job of the budget. So it's our budget to come up with and give it to her. So I'm just asking that you really kind of put some thought and energy into it when we start really going into these budget talks. Because it's going to be tight.
Can we do that via email to you, Katie? Because I saw there's a special meeting and I'm in Santa Fe, so I won't be here that day. So is it okay to do
Yeah,
that ahead of time?
what Jill and I taught, February 28th, Jill and I talked a lot about Hot Topic Night.
Yep.
There's some hot topics from last budget that we've got to hot topic again, so that there's clear conversation around hot topics. So definitely send those, because that's what, so if you
It'll
notice,
be-
February 28th is really a special meeting around hot topics.
It'll be sort of centered around like what we did last year with the sticky notes and things like that for those that were here for that, so that we'll know what you're really wanting to go for. So come with a plan, okay? Laura?
I know that we had mentioned before about line items and breaking it down further. So I do appreciate that we have information from last year and it's posted on the website, but is that information available before the 28th?
No, because we need direction before we obviously we're moving all salaries and stuff forward, right? So there's the things that are non-negotiable in the sense of what we're doing. But then there's got to be hot topic discussions like class sizes, high school programming, bus aids, administration. So there's a list that Jill and I have. And so you'll see at the next board meeting, we'll have a calendar. So plan on every Wednesday, pretty much kicking off. The 28th is when you give direction. Then the first meeting on March 13th, we will have the first set of cost center. The first set of cost center. I'm trying to remember what we did with our calendar today. We worked on the calendar. But what's hard is while we're preparing and things are shifting, it's hard to be well prepared and then come to you and say, you know what, I handed out. Could you give that all back? We're going to give it out again. Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask a
So we're going to
question?
go line by line of each cost center? Yes.
Can I ask a question in a different way?
Sure.
Can I get a copy of last year's budget binder by line?
It is by line. Your
is
binder
Well,
is
it's
all by
rolled up,
line.
right? So
No.
it's like,
No, you had comments, so you had every line, and then we had comments when a line went with some description.
In the booklet that you got.
Yeah.
The big booklet. There were the cost centers. There was a tablet for each cost center, and
Right.
that was your line by line.
Yeah.
Inside it.
so it's not broken down further. Oh,
Nope.
okay.
That's all. Yeah.
But if you need another copy before,
I have it.
okay, all right, okay, no, it's all right.
Okay.
You're going to get a
So-
new booklet or bring your old booklet and you can add to it.
In the transportation, sorry, I should probably, I was thinking it was broken down further, like transportation, and then you have like the bus drivers and the things that go with that, and then you have like all of the subcontractors that you pay individually type of thing, but it's all kind of just rolled into contract. And so I thought it was like, when you
We
say
can write more notes. We can, like, I think we wrote, if it's,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, we
yeah.
wrote contracted, and then we wrote what the contracts were. But in budget development, it doesn't drill. Those are things that you can ask when we go through line items. You can ask those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I can look at them.
Yeah, look at them and then
Thank
see.
you for that clarification.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't mean for this to become a discussion.
Yeah,
I,
right,
I
exactly.
just wanted to let you guys
Yeah, we're kind of going off track.
prepared to kind of come to that meeting. Start thinking about it. Start looking at it. That is all that I have asked. Because last year we sat here and we did 10 minutes of just staring at each other without really knowing where we wanted to go. And There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of things going on. So bring that to the meeting, please. That's all I'm asking. So, without further objection, I would like to consider our meeting adjourned at